this is my review on my, I only have two favorite Vince Vaughn films, and that's Fred Claus and Delivery Man. I don't know which one I like more, but I like one, I think I like this one a little more. Or Delivery Man more. I don't know. Anyway, this is one of my two favorite Vince Vaughn movies he's ever done in his career. And this is Fred Claus, and the other one is Delivery Man, which I'll review some other time. But I'm going to talk about Fred Claus. So anyway, I think I have more like this. I think I like this movie more than Delivery Man. I was saying I'm getting a sidetrack. Anyway, so Fred's baby brother is born, and he grows up, becomes Santa Claus. And he promised that he will makes a promise to his little brother, saying that he will look out for him and be the best brother he can be. And then he grows up like Fred Claus grew, and the baby brother grows up to be, everyone knows, the icon that is Santa Claus. And his name is Nicholas, and so he comes up with this other idea to make things more fun and interesting, and then he starts to slowly resent his brother because Fred's mother favors Nicholas completely over Fred in every way, because she says, like, why can't you be more like a brother? So that hurts his parents, and then he goes to talk to his brother that's in his tree, that lives in his tree, and that's his closest friend at the time, I guess, Fred's closest friend. And he talks to the bird, saying he knows his little brother means well and stuff. But then when he cuts down the bird tree to make a Christmas tree for the house, the bird flies away, and Fred loses his closest friend that would listen to him more than anyone else. And that's when he starts to hate completely hates his. That's when that's when Nicholas becomes dead to Fred, because that was just the last thing that he couldn't take. He can't take any more of, and him not getting really any of the attention, showing it shows lots of neglect to both families, but the mother is a lot worse than that, because I feel like she kind of knows what she's doing. She's favoring Nicholas over Fred in every way possible, and giving the father's giving Nicholas all the attention and not giving Fred any attention or compassion, and the mother's doing the same thing. So that's when he starts to hate his little brother, because he throws a big hot piece of bread at him, and then they were saying that Fred's naughty now. When we look at it, his parents are naughty, not him, because his parents are raising him wrong. They're raising him without love and compassion. But Nicholas with all the love and compassion, but not really raising. It seems like once Nicholas was born, they gave up on raising Fred and showing compassion and love. So, and we're supposed to buy that Fred's this really horrible person, but was a good heart, but deep down he's a good person. But it never really comes across that way, because we see him we get where he's coming from because he was unloved as a kid. He was favored over by he was favored over by his younger brother by both parents, and the mother did a lot more of that than the father did, because the father was astute enough to say, "Why can't you be more like your brother, Fred?" In fact, she actually says that twice in the film. Once when she is an old young woman and raising the two kids as young kids, and when we meet her again as an old lady, she hasn't changed at all. She hasn't changed for the better. She stays the same horrible, disgusting person, and says, "Why can't you be more like your brother Fred?" Once he goes to the North Pole, after he gets bailed out of prison by his younger brother's younger brother Nicholas, who is Santa Claus. He's never told anyone he has a brother, because he's kind of his young brother's dead to him. So when he does tell the whole deal he made with his brother, saying he's gotta go visit him, but he made a deal because he bailed him out of prison. So she doesn't believe him, breaks up with him and dumps him. Well, she doesn't dump him, she just says goodnight to him and doesn't dump him. But then she starts cheating on Fred behind his back, and Fred knows this because this guy in the snow globe started flirting with his girlfriend, and then she started flirting with him back, saying she doesn't have a boyfriend. And we're supposed to make Fred look like and Fred's supposed to be this asshole. Fred's supposed to be the asshole of the film. And, because of what he did was, like, spying on her. But Fred points out that what she did is she's not exactly innocent either. And that points out none of his families are innocent or good people. Because, he says this during this, family therapy, that says, we don't need family therapy. Wanna know why? Because family therapy is for people who want to be in each other's lives. So that's what Fred says. This is during when he's trying to get the elves after he tries to get the elves to loosen up, and scams every kid on the naughty and nice, because none of the kids, he doesn't believe there's any such thing as a bad kid, and every kid is a good kid, and everybody deserves love and attention. See, this is where I think Fred is a better person, is a bigger person, and more of a human than Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas is, because I think it seems like he only came up with the naughty and nice list just because Nicholas' brother started to resent him. But that's not Fred's fault. It's not Nicholas' fault. It's the mother's fault and the father's fault for not showing kindness or love and attention to Fred, and it's favoring Nicholas over in every way. And we really feel bad for Fred, and we also feel bad for Nicholas also, where he's coming from, because he wants his brother back to love him again and to be there for him. And everyone else kind of resents Claus, like they kind of resent, like his wife, Mrs. Claus, resents Fred because of the way he acts, and so does his rest of his family, except for. And his girlfriend is disappointed how he turned out as an adult, because he's always pushing people away. So Fred is given this gift by his brother, and it's his old birdhouse, and he apologized for chopping it down his birdhouse tree when they were kids. So that's when he slowly starts to warming up to his brother again, and starting to feel more connected to his brother. But then he really starts to feel connected and goes back to North Pole after he is reminded during this therapy session with all these people who was during this group therapy session and talking about his brother, and then they all talking about their little brothers, all these people, and he remembers the promise he made to his little brother when he was a baby, saying he was going to be there for him no matter what. So he goes back to the North Pole and invites North Pole on Christmas Eve, and this is after the North Pole's been shut down, and Santa Claus is out of the job by this agent who's not a bad guy either. That's what the thing is. There's no bad guy in this film. He's not a bad guy. He just didn't get the attention he had as a kid. So he grew up a little bitter and resent and negative towards the world in a negative way. And because when he was because he got bullied. It turns out he got bullied all the time, and Santa Claus remembers him. His name, remembers what he wanted, and that he hit the naughty list, and he made a misjudgment about every kid who has ever been on the naughty list, because he realized that there's no such thing as a bad kid, because Fred Claus taught him that there's no such thing as a bad kid, and the whole naughty and nice list is a bunch of bullshit, because every kid deserves attention, and every kid deserves a gift on Christmas Day. Because some kids feel like they're not heard, some kids they feel like they're unloved, some of the kids they just feel misunderstood, and Fred fits all these categories, and he tells this to his younger brother, and this is when his wife, Mrs. Claus, starts to see where Fred is coming from and starts to see what happened. Gives a little hint what happened to him as a kid, because he was one of those kids. So, considering that Santa Claus cannot lift his own weight anymore because he's gone too heavy to carry his own weight, Fred is going to have to deliver the presents in one night to every kid around the world, literally, because he stamped a kid around the world nice, and put them all on nice lists. And while there's one plot I had to give to this film, not every kid's gonna be just decided with bicycles or hula hoops, because might be a little disappointed, but they might have fun with it. Even though they didn't ask for it, they're going to get that because that's the quickest thing they can make. And Fred sees it that it doesn't matter if they want it or that's what they ask for. Not. It's about feeling loved and wanted, because that's what kids really want. He says this to all the elves in the room, and that he says that if you do this, we're going to make a miracle happen. And then he finds out that Santa Claus cannot carry his weight over, because the doctor breaks it to him that he can't deliver presents because he can't even carry his own weight anymore. Because he's been hitting the milk and cookies too heavy, because he's been depressed and stressed out over his brother not feeling loved by his brother. And turns out, where does his brother hates him? And turns out he does, because his brother says that he doesn't hate him. He's what he wasn't born. So, and then, while Fred Claus takes off in the sleigh and delivers all the presents around the world, Santa Claus grows a little here. This is when I really started to warm up. This was when I really started to warm up to this character, Paul Giamatti Santa Claus, because he started to realize that as the average when he starts to grow a bit and becomes a better person for it, because of Fred Claus, because of the love he has from his brother, because of finally understanding where Fred's point of view was coming from during his childhood, and that carried on in his adult life, the trauma that he suffered, which was from neglectful parents and favoring one child over the other. The one they favored over was, well, Nicholas, Santa Claus. So he says the guy, he confronts the guy that shut him down. Turns out he was the one that was one of the kids that hit a naughty list, and said he made a serious mistake about all naughty kids that have ever been on the naughty list, because there are no naughty kids, there are only good kids. So no matter what situation they are in, they are good kids. There's only good kids. So, he, remembers what he wanted for Christmas years ago, which was the last Christmas present he ever asked for from Santa Claus, and he didn't got it, so. And then that turned him very negative and turned into a bitter person, and because of it. But what he wanted was a Superman cape, because he was constantly picked on as a kid, and he thought the Superman cape was going to change his life, and he wasn't going to feel like a loser anymore. So Santa Claus years later gives him the cape, and Santa Claus doesn't put it on, and he says, come on, I'm 40, he's like, I'm in my 40s, I think I will look a little silly if I put on a cape, and he says, put it on for me, Santa Claus says, and he puts it on, and he feels like a hero. So he turns on the power back on after Santa Claus talks some sense to him, even though he's not legally allowed to put the power back on because the North Pole shut down legally. He files all the papers, and not that he doesn't want to, it's against the law. And he says, and Santa Claus, I understand that, but why don't we give my brother Fred his shot, because he's not a bad kid either. So he puts the power on, and then the power breaks again. Then he puts the power on, and then power blows a fuse. Then they realize that's not good. But somehow, with a stroke of luck, and one night, Fred and his his elf buddy, that has a crush on this girl elf, and he was teaching him how to dance in this bar while they were drinking eggnog. And he gets the girl out of his dreams by just going and kissing her, and she instantly recognizes his name, recognizes his name and she sees him, finally notices him after just giving her a big old, tipping her over and giving her a kiss on the lips. And Fred breaks the news to everyone, saying, "We did it. We delivered all the presents," and they all go to the snow globe to see all their kids around the world opening up their presents, and it's a miracle that they're all really. It's so warm, and you get this warm feeling that when you see all these kids happy, and that they felt thought of, and they felt love, and because they felt thought of from Santa Claus, and so and it ends with so the guy that got the Superman cape now works at the North Pole and helping Santa Claus was helping Santa Claus for next Christmas. And Santa Claus has lost enough weight to carry his own weight again. And when come over for Thanksgiving, him and his brother come over, invite to Thanksgiving, and all of his family is invited to Thanksgiving to spend time with Fred and his girlfriend. Because he's learned to open up people because he feels like he's finally because he finally decides to feel she's like was hot because he starts to realize that he was being a jerk and not moving on with his life, and had trouble getting over his being neglectful as a kid, and he realized he kind of messed up this kid that was very close to him, giving him really bad advice. And that's the one reason why he was going to end up on the naughty list is because of Fred's actions and advice that he gave to, this kid. So as Santa Claus, when he's in the Santa Claus costume, he gives the kid the puppy anyway, even though he was going because he was going to end up on the naughty list, and gives some. He says to the kid that you're giving advice early this year that probably wasn't by Fred, that wasn't probably the best advice. And he says that he knows that Fred's a good person, and he's saying this while pretending to be his brother Santa Claus, and the kid never knows that it's Fred. And so he just takes off and make everyone in the world happy. While taking on the idea of Santa Claus. And the reason why he had to drive the sleigh and not the elf that has more, that's Buddy Woody, who's an elf, has more experience than on riding the sled than Fred has ever had. He's never rode that thing before. And the reason why he had to ride the sleigh on Christmas night is because legally only a Claus can do it. So he's a Claus, and so he decides to man up and do it and suit up and wear the Santa Claus costume. And he tells after Woody breaks the news that only Claus can do it because that's the law. That's legally only Claus can ride on Christmas night. It has to be a Claus. So he breaks the news to his little brother Nicholas, who's saying that he can't do it. He's terrified of that of the thought of flying in that thing, because he's terrible at it. And Nicholas understands, and he says, "Hey Fred, believe me, I know it's scary. I don't want to ask you to do it, okay? I wouldn't blame me if you didn't. Okay?" So he ends up doing it anyway and rides in the sleigh anyway, and takes off with the sleigh. And at Thanksgiving time, all his family, including his brother Santa Claus, comes over for Thanksgiving, Santa Claus gets a hug from his big brother in the first time in years since they were kids. So Santa Claus got his, so as the narrator said, Santa Claus got his wish. He got his brother back. He got felt loved by his brother, big brother again. This is my favorite Christmas movie, I think, actually. Christmas. This is my favorite thing involving the Christmas. I think it was my favorite Christmas movie because I just really love this a lot. It's very, very heartwarming and funny and emotional at times, and it's also tons of fun. And I just love the hell out of this film. This gets a 10 out of 10 in my eyes.